Another lovely day. Anyway, I think we'll do a video on consciousness for VloggerDome. And yeah, maybe it's going to be a long video instead of a short video, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, sorry about that, but it's a conversation that's worth having. I mean, it's the most important function of our existence is our consciousness. Understanding what it's doing is kind of important, not just from a psychological level, but from a big picture biological level, from a physics level. I mean, it's all kind of important, I think. I'm being patronizing and sarcastic. Yeah, I have to explain this to other people's consciousness. That consciousness might be a subject worth people talking about a little bit and how it functions. So anyway, mind, brain, consciousness, sentience, feeling, you throw all these words together, it's the same thing, same functionality. And what it comes down to is its reflexes. It's all reactionary elements at its core, just reactions. So like a computer that does bit math, that does things a bit at a time, you know, each process of a computer is really processes. Little, you know, even to make the bits, it's made out of bytes and that kind of thing. It's not an infinite regression, but it's a regression. It can be dissected into individual strikes of a key on a piano, so to speak. The music can be slowed down, and you can get each little bit of what's happening. And the same thing is happening inside our brain in terms of the reflexes that are being mobilized to create what appears to you, and what certainly feels to me like something other than that. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel mechanical. It feels like it flows like a river. But even like a river, there's mechanics. There's individual molecules, and they do their thing. They travel each on their path, and decided based on the funnel, that is the stream, will dictate the flow. And that's sort of what happens to us. Is the funnel is different than a stream's funnel. The funnel we have is wires and, you know, a whole bunch of billions maybe of little streamlets of tangled flow that coalesces into what we call our river of consciousness, our stream of consciousness. But yeah, it begins with just, you know, point A and point B. Something happens over here, and something ends up happening over here because of it. You know, because there's a connector between the two. There's a reactionary device. So point A is the trigger of the gun, let's say, and point B is the bullet's landing point. And this is the basic function of a reflex. The trigger is pulled in one location, the bullet lands in another location. Our brain is just a bunch of these mechanical firings of a pre-triggered, preset, pre-pulled trigger. And the reflexes are actually shooting their gun at the triggers of other guns. So one reflex will load the gun of another reflex. So there you can start to get an idea of how convoluted and complicated it gets based on what fires, what kind of bullet stream you end up with. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, I should just stop there. So anyway, but yeah, so the next step is to break it, to move it up a step, maybe, and understand, okay, you can see this in the simplest organisms. You can see that they only run simple reactionary programs. They do the same thing. to the same stimulus over and over and over again, or even similar stimulus, always produces the same thing. Very little nuance, very little variety. So they have guns of reaction and guns of interaction. Input mechanisms that load guns, and then other inputs fire those guns. And the guns are pretty simple. Flight, fight, feed, fuck kind of mechanisms, and built into a very simple composition. And we can see in ourselves that there's all kinds of guns that we load, that we create or aim more precisely and more nuanced. So through practice, we can become a juggler. You scared me. You're scaring me, Mr. Snakey. Boy, you're really aggressive. Yes, you are. Garter snake. I should go that away, since I saw that snake, and see if there's one of those snake caves over there. Maybe if I'm not too tired on the way home. And, they just pile out of the wall. It's really amazing. I only saw it. I was only there at the right time once in my life. And but it's amazing to see. I didn't have a camera that time. But, hundreds of snakes, just coming out of the wall of the cliff. Kind of, holy shit. Yeah, it just makes you say, God, there must be a God. There's snakes coming out of the fucking ground. So anyway, separate subject. Startled. Anyway, yeah, it was really harmless garter snake. They don't have tiny teeth, but they can give you an infection or something. Yeah. Anyway, where was I? Hello, flowers. So yeah, these reflexes to the snake, to the flowers, to all this stuff is because I end up with guns loaded with that definition, with that word. So I was on juggling, a mechanical thing. So yeah, you can really see your brain working, consciousness working in the subconscious way when you start to recognize things like your muscle memory. So how you can train your body to react, and so it has a pre-program, and I just say to my brain, juggle, and it juggles. Just does it. It really is quite amazing. It just runs the program. It runs the sequence of fire gunshots that it's now well aimed and well positioned, so the body can do most of the work. And my consciousness doesn't have to be too... Well, my consciousness is never involved, actually. It's always just a witness to what the subconscious is doing. But I don't sense too much of the data consciously, where I'm coherent to it. It's happening in stuff that's already written, that already does its thing automatically. Certainly beyond my perception, at a speed beyond my perception. I can say, at least at minimum, that makes stuff invisible to us. When stuff is happening in our subconscious so quickly that our consciousness is too slow. It moves faster than our consciousness can perceive it, and that might be called a subconscious event. I think there's probably more stuff in subconscious than just the fast stuff, but I don't want to get into the little minor debates. So anyway, so basically what we have is these two elements. We are input-output devices. We receive information through our senses, our brain through maturation, training, practice, associates. That information gets associated with pulling certain triggers, cocking the certain guns, and pulling certain triggers. And so the game begins. The network starts firing, the network of ammunition, and the bullets start flying about as the information comes in, and depending on the exact sequence, the exact prearrangement, like what guns were cocked at the time the event happens. Like at one moment, I might look at that scenery and I might see the pine trees, because that's pine tree guns are more cocked, more ready. Or I might see the grass because I was thinking about grass, as I was thinking about snakes in the grass, because snakes from before, so now the word snake in the grass, the phrase snake in the grass was rolling in my subconscious. It was a gun ready to fire, and there was some grass, so I saw the grass. And so what you see at any one minute, what your brain plucks out of the environment, is going to depend on your predisposition. You know, what arrangement was previous, where the ricochets and what guns have been loaded and which ones have been fired and need reloading will dictate what any impression in any one moment is of your environment. And then you just move through the bing, 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 bang reflexive reactions, zillions of them perhaps, whatever, huge, gigantic number per every, whatever, second of time, zillions of reactions taking place, stuff bouncing into each other, banging into each other, and it has an output stream of coherency, what appears to be to us to be coherent. And it's coherent because it's been practiced into coherency. You didn't just, you know, it took you a while to learn language. It took you a while to learn how to walk, how to be stylish, and how you perform your humanness. You could be funky human, or dumpy human, or slumpy human. You can be all kinds of styles of human. But you had to train. The body had to be trained. The brain, the consciousness, had to be trained into that style. It went to school for it, so to speak. You went to school to understand relationships and mechanics and the different functions that are happening out there, and for your brain to have that element of gun firing that's completely dependent on logic and understanding, knowledge, information. All those things create very precise reflexive reactions. It's a very clean, filtered reaction that your brain creates, and that we call intelligence. When it's coherent to the facts and well established by a volume of evidence, that would be called intelligence. And that's your mind. Your thinking process is a huge array of well-aimed guns, well-connected guns, words that have well-reasoned other words connected to them. And the difference between, say, a religious nut and, say, me, a great and powerful intelligence, is the fact that, you know, religious nut, when they hear the word faith, they think, oh, that's a rational concept that makes people better. And I think preposterous nonsense, belief without reason, virtually insane, virtually the same as insanity. My brain associates faith with insanity, where a religious nut associates faith with everybody else is doing it, or some other bullshit, you know, that makes it seem like a gun you want to fire, and it's an intelligence killer. Yeah. If you don't have it associated with completely negative function, broken function, non-function, then your guns are pointed wrong. Your consciousness needs re-aiming. The reflexes need re-aiming because you're aiming the guns wrong. The guns are aimed wrong, either way you want to put it. But yeah, you're not doing intelligence then. You're doing fucktard. And that's the basics of it. So you can be smart and intelligent, have lots of knowledge, but you get one or two of these words wrong, one or two guns pointed the wrong way, and you'll blow up your brain. You'll assassinate it. You'll just kill it. That rogue bullet, that illogical bullet, will just blow up all the other good logical bullets. It'll be a torpedo. It'll come right back for your and blow your submarine up. It's all bad news. Bad. Yeah, bad. It should be associated with bad. Nonsensical religious faithyrossery. Anyway, that was a perfectly adequate video. I liked it. I think I'll watch it. And until next time.